Okay, hey everybody, in this tutorial we are going to learn how to make a platform game here on Scratch. And you can see an example of the one that I made right here. I click on my green flag, the ball comes bouncing down. We'll learn how to make a nice little bounce effect like that. You can see we have that realistic gravity effect along with the motion. And we'll learn how to take the ball and have it go up on the sprite. And just kind of bounce off it like that, and then make it, so there we go. You want to get up there, and if it does, and then this is the first level, and you'll be able to go 2 levels after that. And we'll make it so that you want to avoid the lava or some random red dangerous area. And there we go. If I get to the key, boom, I win. That is the game that we will make, but you can make this however you choose. So let's get started. I'm going to make a new tab, and I'm going to go to Scratch. And I am going to go to Create. You always want to title your game first to make sure that you don't have a bunch of untitles. And this is a platform game about a bouncing ball. So I will name this Wanna Be a Baller. There we go. But you need to capitalize your verbs. All right. And we don't need Scratchy in this one. So the first thing that I am going to do, if you look over here, kind of have your whole setup right here. You have the green block down here, you have your black ball, you have your blue platforms, and you have your key. And besides the key, all of these are drawn. And I'm going to get this entire level set up, and then we will apply the scripts to it later. Because for a lot of these, if you look on the inside, you need these scripts to interact with the ball so that it knows when it touches this, or when it touches this sprite, it should do something differently than if it wasn't touching that sprite. So I am going to just paint a new sprite, and I will have my grounds be green. Oops, that's not what I want to do. You can go back there if you make a mistake. I want to make a rectangle, and make sure that you color in the rectangle. I and many other people make that mistake all the time. And I'm going to have that, and that will be my ground. I need to make it a little bigger so that it covers everything. There we go. Drag it up. And next I will make my ball. And you can make these any color, or you could choose a sprite if you want. It doesn't have to be an exact replica of this. And you want to make sure when you are putting new sprites there, especially when you're drawing them, you want to make sure, and especially the ones that you are controlling, you want to make sure that they are centered on the little cross right there. And that's too big, so I'm going to make that smaller. So it's just like that. Perfect. And I'm going to go make my blue platform line, and you can control the thickness of it right here, and I'll try to make it nice and thick. You could also make it as a rectangle too, but I'm just going to make it as a line. That looks good. Try to make it flat, and there we go. Just move it over that way. That is a little too big, so I'm going to make it smaller. And I could just cut off the sides too with my eraser tool. Getting a haircut, man. All right. Great. Now let's make that a little more even. It's going to go. All right. And I'm just going to take this and drag it down here. And for now, these are all the sprites that I will put down, because we will get it so that it works with this blue one. And then once we have it functional on the blue one, then we could just copy that with all the scripts in it, and it will save us some time and effort later. So now the first thing, or the first sprite that I'm going to program is going to be the ball. And if you've seen my previous tutorial, we want to control this with a realistic source of movement, just like in the paddle and brick one, or if you've done the one ahead of this with Flappy Bird, we want to make sure that our movements just aren't static, like go from this point to this point in 1 second, because that's not how movement works in the real world. In the real world, movement is variable. So you may jump in the air and your initial force, it eventually is slowed down by another force called gravity, and it brings you back down. And so you may be jumping really hard and going up quickly in the beginning, but then at the apex of your jump, you are not moving at all, and then you move back down. Same thing if you push a ball, it will go quickly when you initially apply that force, but as friction and or gravity take over, it will slow down. So we want to make that happen here to make it look more realistic. And in order to do that, we are going to use variables. So I'm going to have two movement variables. I'm just going to make one of them now. And the first one that I'm going to make is called x velocity. Velocity, yeah. And that is going to be the velocity on the x-axis right here. So I want to have it that if the right arrow is pressed, I want to change x. Oh, not set x. I want to change x by 1. And if it is not pressed, I should have done this if then else block, my fault. If the right arrow is pressed, I want to change x velocity by 1. However, if it is not, I don't want it to keep on going. I want it to slow down. So I'm going to need another if then statement inside of this, because we don't want to continuously change x by -1, because then it will get into the negatives, and that's not how velocity works either. So if x velocity is greater than 0, so if it is still moving, then we want to change x velocity by -1. And we want to wait 0.1 seconds between each iteration, because if not, it will go very, very fast, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to make sure I always want Scratch to be checking for this, so I'm going to wrap it in a forever block, and I want this to happen in the beginning. So when the green flag click, that's going to happen. So let's click the green flag, and you can see if, oh. One thing, I forgot this on my previous tutorial too. So just because you name your variable something, that does not mean anything. You need to actually connect it to the real world, or to your scripts. So I named this x velocity. That doesn't mean that it's going to actually change the x velocity. I can name it kittens. I can name it ice cream. It doesn't matter. The only reason I named it x velocity is because I wanted to remember what it is. So I need to make sure that I am changing x by x velocity. And that is the only way your variable will affect anything, is that if you actually tell it to move or do something by that variable. And I always want that happening. And I want that happening when the green flag when the green flag is clicked. So let's try this. Oh. Need to make sure that you set it to 0 at the beginning. And I need to drag it out here. There we go. And now you can see, if I press the right arrow, it goes like that. And then if I stop pressing the right arrow, it slows down. And all I want to do is duplicate this. And I want to change, if the left arrow is pressed, I want to change x velocity by -1. And if x velocity is less than 0, then I want to change x velocity by 1. So now if I press the green flag, I can go back and forth. You can see if I hold it down, it goes quicker. If I let it go, let's see, we just let it slide it will slide to a halt, and it will replicate friction. It does not replicate fiction. And so I have it moving left and right, like how I want it. Now let's make it have a gravity effect. So I'm going to make a new variable called gravity. And I want gravity always to be pulling on the ball. So when the green flag is clicked, forever, I want gravity changing by -1. So that regardless of what happens, gravity is always pulling on this ball, just like gravity is always pulling on everything. Even if you jump, even if you set a force against gravity, gravity is still pulling on you. And we want to make sure that happens here. And we also want to wait 0.1 seconds, because if we just have it go like that, it'll go way too quickly. And you could kind of like play around with this too. And I don't want to change. You could play around with this. Like if you want to make it stronger, you could change gravity by -2 and wait 0.1. Or if you want to make it weaker, you could change gravity by 1 or by -1 and wait 0.2. Just tinker around with that and get it how you want. And we want to make sure gravity is set at 0 when we click the green flag. And this area is going to get a little crowded, so I'm going to put my other gravity changes in here. And so we want to make it that if we press the up arrow, it sets gravity to a certain amount. So for a brief moment in time, we are going to, if the up arrow is pressed, we are going to set gravity to 7. But then because we have this other script over here, it will quickly start pulling on it. So it's set to 7, it's changing by 7, but then it's changing by 6, then 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1, then 0. And when it's 0, it's at the peak of its jump. And then it's going to -1, -2, -3, -4, so that it starts coming down. So forever. So forever, if the up arrow is pressed, then we want to set gravity to 7. And we want to make sure we have when the green flag is clicked. And we want to make sure that our Y motion is being affected by gravity, just like we did with the X variable. So I'm going to change Y by gravity, and we always want that happening. Oops, we don't want that in this one, sorry. We want to change this one's Y by gravity. So right next to change X by X velocity, we will put forever, change Y by gravity. And I'll add my when green flag clicked. So now we have both the x-axis and the y-axis. They are being changed by the x velocity and gravity. So let's see how this works. You can see that when I press the up arrow, it goes like that. And if I want to move like that, I'm a free ball just going wherever I want. And it's actually pretty fun just to sort of float around space like that. Okay, so as fun as that is, you can see my ground and my blue platform have absolutely no bearing on what happens with my ball, and that's not what we want. So let's see how we can make these things actually affect how the ball moves. So there's a couple different ways to go about this, but I'm going to make it so that it has a little bounce effect. And so we want it so that when the ball is coming down, once it hits the green or the blue, it just takes it and then it goes back up in the exact opposite direction. But we don't want it going all the way back up, because then it would just keep on bouncing forever. So when you bounce a ball in real life, it goes against the ball And that force that it applies against the ground is pushed back with an equal and opposite force, which is Newton's second law, I think. Sorry if I'm wrong about that. So then it goes back up. But some of that energy is lost. And so that's why it just doesn't keep on going up forever like that. It goes up or it goes down, and then it goes up a little bit, and then a little bit less, and a little bit less, and a little bit less until it just stops bouncing. So what we're going to do in order to replicate that is I'm going to go back to my green spray, and I want another if-then statement where if it is touching sprite 3, then we are going to affect it in some manner. Now, I want it touching sprite 3, but I also want another condition to be met, which is not pressing the up arrow, because if it was always doing this, then I could never press the up arrow to get out of that. So I don't know if we've talked about these, but we have these AND operators and the OR operators, where if you put it in here, then that means that both of these conditions need to be met. So it needs to be touching sprite 3, and something else needs to happen too in order for the if-then condition to execute. The OR is very similar, just either one of those conditions need to be met. And these can come in, or these are very handy as you start to program more complex programs. So I'm gonna put that in there. And this is, some people have a problem with this, where if you need to put it in the front where you can see that lighting up like that, but not like that. So put it in like that, and then put this in there. So I want if touching sprite 3 and the up arrow is not being pressed. So I'm gonna take this little not green block right here and the up arrow. So that means the up arrow is not being pressed. Then I want something to happen. And I want to just put gravity in the opposite direction. So if gravity is going down by -6, once it hits this, if I set it to 6, it will go up that way in the exact opposite direction. So I'm going to do a little math in order to do that. I'm going to go to set gravity to gravity. I'm going to use my math operator over here, use the multiplication over here, times -0.5. So gravity will go down here, and if I were to multiply by -1, it would go the exact opposite place, so it just keeps on going back up there like that. But if I do it by -5, it will go halfway, and then halfway, and then halfway, and then halfway, and then halfway, and it will actually never get to 0, but we will take care of that in a bit. So wrap that in forever, because I always want it checking for that. And then when green flag is clicked, you can see when I press my green flag, set gravity to, that should be working. Oh, I want sprite 2, sorry. That's, you can see it just bounces like that. And it will kind of keep on, because it will never quite get there, but we will take care of that in a sec. Bounces like that, boom. Great. And if we were to say like do it to -1, it would just keep on going forever. But we don't want that, obviously. So -0.5. Now let's take care of this little, if we don't have like this, it will just keep on going just crazy like that. So we don't want that to happen. And if I go back here, I can make some changes so that y is only changed by gravity when the absolute value is greater than a certain amount. So once it gets down to these really small areas, we just don't want to be changed by that amount anymore. So I'm just going to take out my change y, and I'm going to put an if then in there. And this time I'm going to use the OR operator, where gravity If gravity is greater than 0.7, or if gravity is less than negative 0.7 and only negative 0.7, and only if that is true, then we want to change y by gravity. I also want to just kind of get it up here so that it starts there. So just one green flag click, you could put this anywhere. I'll just put it down there. And finally, in order for this to work, I forgot to put it in here, but I need to wait 0.1 seconds between each thing. For some reason, just it seems to match up better when it does that. If you don't put this in, it won't work as well. And I'm not exactly sure why, but you want to do this so that it works. So now if I do that, boom, go up and boom. And if I just let it go, it will stop like that. Okay, cool. So now that we have that, let's just take our bounce script and put it into the blue block. See, we have copied it over there. And we can actually take out this not up arrow key pressed. I'm just going to put it in like that. Just wanted to show how this would work, and logically it does, but we can actually do it without it. And it's important for this because for this we don't just want the bounce happening if we go down, we also want it if we go up. So we need both of those conditions to be pressed. And now if I press a green flag, it should boom, boom. And if I go up there, boom. Great. And so now that we have that, in the game over here, you could see that if I go and I press the up arrow and then I press right, it doesn't work. It only works if you are touching the ground. And I was playing some other games and you could still do it like this. I'll show you how really quick, just in this example here. You could see that, is it right here? Yeah. So we need to use those and ors from before, where if the right arrow is pressed, and then in a separate one, it is important that these are together or else it will not work. You need the or operator right there. So it needs to be either touching sprite 2 or touching the color blue, and only if both, either one of those conditions plus the right arrow being pressed is met, then it will be able to change the X velocity. And that's the only way you're able to change the X velocity, so that if it's not touching one of those, I cannot go left or right. But I think what I'm going to do is I am going to make it so that you can move in the air, because I think that makes it a little bit more fun. But we do have to change something. And if you feel like doing it the other way, that is totally fine too. I had it like that for a long time. This is totally a personal preference. But we need to do something where if the up arrow is pressed, you can't just make it go fly over like that, because that just makes it way too easy and just doesn't really work that well. So I want to make it so that we max out our X velocity. And we just need to make it so that the absolute value of the X velocity can get no higher than, let's say, 10. We'll try 10 and see how that works. So where's my X velocity? Okay, so we want, if the right arrow is pressed and X velocity is less than 10, then we're able to, it's a little messy here, sorry. Then we are able to move it. So let's see, like that. And you can see that's even a little too much too. So let's try 7. Yeah, there we go. All right, and I just need to do that with the left one too. So if the left arrow is pressed, I'm just going to copy these. Get rid of that. And if the left arrow is pressed, and in this one we want X velocity is greater than -7, it will be able to move. So now we are able to control it like that, but there's a limit to it. Great. Cool. Okay, so we have basically everything set up for the first level. All I need to do now is just copy this platform, duplicate, and I'm going to duplicate. And this will work the exact same way. I'm going to set it up how I want. Boom. And boom. And so now I have my, oops, why does that not work? That should work. I need to press the green flag again. Oh, simple mistake. Didn't press the green flag. That's always like, if something doesn't work, pressing the green flag again, kind of a lot of times that does work. Okay, great. So I have that. And the only thing I need now is to get my little key that I had there. So that was from the sprite library. And you can do this any way you want. Where was it? It was in things, I believe. A key is a thing. So it would stand to reason that it is in things, but I can't find it. So I'm just gonna put an arrow instead. Okay, and I'm just gonna put this arrow up here. And we just want, when it is touching this arrow, we want to broadcast level 2. So I am going to go to events, and I want a new message, and that will be a message level 2. And if it is touching sprite number 2, then we want to broadcast level 2. We always want to asking if it is touching sprite 2, and we want that happening in the beginning. So we have that, and what we're going to do is we are going to, when the green flag is clicked, we are going to show all of these and make them go into their spots. And then when we broadcast level 2, some of them are going to hide and go to new spots. So I want to just drag this out. So it's always going to go there when the green flag is clicked. And it is always going to show. This one is going to show and go there. And then the same thing for this one. Boom, and show. And we can actually keep this one in the exact same spot, but we want to hide. Wait, which one's boom? All right, this is the first. This is this one. All right, so we want to, when I receive, I always think broadcast messages in control. When I receive level 2, I want to hide this one. Yep. Boom. All right. And when I receive level 2, here, I did it again. I want to hide that one. So let's try this out. There we go. Great. Oh wait, no, it's in the wrong one. Hide when I receive level 2. I'm gonna hide this one. And which one is this? That should be this one. This one. All right. we want to keep this one there. Cool. And we also want to hide the ground too, because we're going to replace that with lava. When I receive level 2, hide, and when the green flag is clicked, we want to show. All right, so we have that set up. Now I just want to get my red lava that will end the game. If we happen to touch it. So I'm just going to go here, boom. Oops, don't want blue. Want red, there we go. Okay. And just make it so that it covers the entire thing. All right, and same thing as before. When I receive level 2, I want it to show. And when the green flag is clicked, I want it to hide. Okay, and if our ball is touching this, I want to end the game. So if touching, sprite number 2. It's a good habit too to actually like name your sprites, not just sprite 1, sprite 2, sprite 3, sprite 4, and all that. I'm not really exercising best practice here. If I were you, I would change all that info, but I'm just going to keep it like that for now. And I want to broadcast endgame. I always want it checking for that, so I'm going to wrap that in a forever loop. Boom. And I'm just going to have a background for ending the game and a background for winning, or a background for losing the game and a background for winning the game. And I'm just going to have a white one too. So new one. And I will just paint it a nice blue color for winning the game. Winning the game. And I will have a little text. Scratch. You win. And I wish there was an easier way to make, oh, wait, there we go. Cool. All right. Let's make it nice and big like that. You win. And there we go. And another backdrop that says you lose. I'm gonna have this one be red because you just fell in a pit of lava. This is what you see now. Oh no. And I'm gonna have that be yellow. And you lose. Make it nice and big. There we go. Cool. So put that there. And when the green flag is clicked, we want to make sure, keep this here. When the green flag is clicked, we want to set the backdrop to the normal one, backdrop 1. When I receive you lose, or end game, I want to set the backdrop to you lose, and we'll make a new message for when you win the game. When I receive when, we are going to switch the backdrop to not you lose, but winning game. I could have named these more elegantly and like win game, end game, start game, something like that, but that didn't happen. Sorry. All right, so now when I press the green flag, I get that nice little backdrop normal there. We go there. Oops, Boom, you lose. All right, so that works. So a couple things there. We need to make sure that the ball is going here at the start of level 2. We also need to make sure that our X velocity is not going anymore, so that if it kind of carries over, you like don't keep on going and just fall into the pit of lava. So just going to go here and press this again. Just drag it up here. And when I receive level 2, I want it to go there. And I want to set X velocity to 0. Okay, and go back to our arrow because this is going to be our winning one. We just want to make sure that this goes there. And then when I receive level 2, let's have it go down there for the person to win. So when I receive level 2, go there. It's going to go there, and then it is going to check to see if you are touching it, and then it will broadcast the winning one. So if touching, oops, if touching sprite 2, then we want to broadcast winning game. Win. We always want it checking for that. So these two are in direct contradiction to each other, where if it's touching sprite 2, broadcast level 2, and if when I receive level 2, if touching that, then broadcast win. So what we need to do is we need to, once this happens, we need to stop this script. So if you go down here, it gives you several options. You could stop everything, which would like end the game, and we don't want that. You can stop this script, which is what we want. It just stops this little script right here. Or you could stop every script just but within the sprite. So the only one we want is this script right here. And we want to use this in the other one because we don't want the user to be able to do anything once it ends. So we want to stop all once you win. And if you lose, we also want it to stop all. Okay, the only final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint one more little blue sprite that will serve as a bridge between point A and point B, like that. And we want it to hide when a green flag is clicked. And we want it to go there and show when I receive level 2. And you could also like hide everything once the game's end. I'm not going to do that, but okay, so let's try this. This should work, but I could be forgetting something too. And let's go into, there we go. Oh, yeah, I forgot to copy the scripts into there. Whoops. Okay, check that it's there. I just don't want this one. Okay, oops. No, you don't want it to show too. So you're going to copy it, but you're going to make a few amendments. You're just going to make sure that's not showing. And you are going to make sure that's not going to the other spot. Yeah, I like being able to control it in the air. It just feels better. It's more satisfying. All right, now let's see if this works. And this is pretty easy. You can make it harder. And boom, you win. All right, good job. That is our platform game. You can make many, many amendments to this. There's a lot of ways you can go, but you have finished this very basic outline. So take this little blueprint and expand on it, and you will have a pretty great game. But good job finishing this, and I'll see you later. Bye.